Barbados, and welcome to episode 3 of the Safety Logs podcast. My name is Zoena Perry-Willett, and I'm going to be your host today. And I'm very excited because today we are talking about fire and fire safety. And I have with me today Mr. Kevin Sobers, who is the Secretary of the Bajan Fire Fighters Network. He's also a lead firefighter with over 20 years of service in the Barbados Fire Service. So Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me, and hi to all who are watching and viewing wherever you are today.
It's going to be a blast.
Of course.
That was the first of a very bad joke.
Oh no. Here we go.
Yeah, no, hold on to your seats. It's going to be a bumpy ride. But what we're talking about is a very serious situation in Barbados because fire affects lives well down the line. It's not just a one and done incident. It's something that has very wide-reaching consequences.
Yeah, consequences.
So can you just tell us a little bit about the Bajan Fire Fighters Network?
Okay, so the Bajan Fire Fighters Network would have started around 2001, and it would have started as a group of firefighters in Barbados Fire Service who to get shirts and badges and stuff, because we have a lot of our brethren from the region and internationally who visit Barbados, and oftentimes they want to exchange shirts or badges to show I've been to Barbados, I've seen the Barbados Fire Service. So having not the department having that avenue, we will branch out and started designing shirts and patches which we'll exchange with persons who come and visit Barbados. Fast forward, in 2015, I think it was January 7th, then that it will then move over to become a registered charity number 1133, where we could do a lot more without the restrictions of the government or the department. But as a charity, you're able to do more in terms of doing risk assessments, surveys, the small detector program or small alarm program where we could assist those. And because oftentimes when persons see the fire department, they see us during when something is gone wrong or when it's already too late. So in terms of being more proactive and being able to do more, the charity is able to fill in that void and assist, whether it be for your victims. So training, the same point importance, career showcases and stuff, so that they could come and prepare themselves before and not be reactive.
So that's such a great initiative to think that was born out of a hospitality initiative first and then has evolved into this great acts of service that you guys provide for the Barbadian public.
Yes, please.
I want to know from you, having been on the force for over 20 years and giving of yourself, really, what's your biggest pet peeve when it comes to Barbadians and fire safety?
Oh dear. Wow.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, because my mind just went to the three different things, not even just fire safety.
Oh, hit me with all.
Oh dear. Okay, so indiscriminate burning. That's one.
When you say indiscriminate burning, what's
okay, so right now there's something which we call an open flame permit and a burn permit, which you apply for to the fire department. Before you do any form of burning, we get an officer who come and do an inspection to make sure that what it is you're burning and the area that you're going to burn it in, that it will not pose any threat to any persons. And then it has, on the approval, it has a list of things that you have to do. So it has the time frames that you can burn, not to burn, because I think we need to go back to do unto others as you will have and want done unto you. And there's too many cases of persons burning 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning when persons are still trying to get their rest, and even at night. Yeah.
That is so inconsiderate.
And then on Sundays and Saturdays when you have church going on, you're burning. So there's so many things that you gotta think about other persons in your community as well. Even persons nowadays have a lot of ailments, respiratory ailments. So like the asthmatics, those with sinusitis, those who work a long shift over the night and now got home to get some rest and then have to deal with no smoke.
Yeah.
So the checklist has that you're going to inform persons in your immediate area, or if you know there's persons who may be elderly, bedridden, you let all those persons know in advance, okay, I'm going to do a burn-in or at such time on this date, so that they can make arrangements and maybe not be home at that point in time that you could inconvenience them unknowingly. All right, so that's one. Another pet peeve, and this is not just for your safety, but my colleagues, I know if I do not say this, they will say, "You sure you work in the fire service?" Persons, when you see emergency vehicles responding who refuse to pull out the road, or they drive all in front of the appliance or the police vehicle or the ambulance, and then decide to stop directly next to another vehicle or obstructing the pathway. That is another pet peeve. Persons who have children driving in vehicles and not having secured in their seats. Many times they blow a fuse driving and they see children jumping around in the back seat, hand and head through the window.
That is also my pet peeve. Like, sit down, do distract the driver.
Yeah, and it's like, if that vehicle gets in an accident or the parent has to brake suddenly, as much as you think you're able to stop, from the time that vehicle stops sudden, the vehicle is going to come to a sudden stop, and your child is going to move like an object at the same speed the vehicle was traveling in. And many times we go to accidents and we have to see children who have either been thrown from the vehicle or fly forward and hit their head, or even worse, are no longer here because of, if you knew better, that you should have done better.
Yeah.
So that's another pet peeve. Please, if you have children, please, regardless of whether they like it or not, practice buckling them up and they will get used to it. But I'm sure you would rather have your children here with you than have something happen to them or worse. Also, persons who throw garbage out of the vehicles.
Kevin, are we kindred spirits? I'm starting to feel like you were in my head.
Yeah.
Especially on buses.
Listen.
When just like yeet it, like if we don't see you littering.
And it's like trying to dirt from the vehicle, and then we wonder where there's so much flooding and persons trapped in vehicles during flooding, and then ourselves, or my colleagues and I, we have to then go and put ourselves in further risk to try to go through the flooded waters to rescue persons because of all the flood, all the littering and stuff that's going on. And I always say, if I was a minister or I had the power, I will put this thing that, if you know everybody has these dash cams and everything nowadays, cameras around their homes, if you could provide proof that you see the vehicle in front of you throwing litter out their window, an automatic fine of $500 or $1,000 for that vehicle or the owner, right? And nowadays, when prices are so hard, everything is going up, prices and everything is getting so expensive. For any person who produce a video or any evidence of the person littering, when the person paid the $5,000 or the $10,000 or whatever the case may be, there's been paid, there's all sorts of things for a payable. The person will be automatically credited $200 or $300 or about $600 directly to your account.
And trust me,
listen.
A man of the people. There needs to be a separate fine for it. I also agree with that.
Yeah.
Because seeing persons, first of all, why do you not care about our environment? Why do you not care about how it looks? I cannot imagine what people who litter out car door windows, what their houses look like. That's like,
oh my gosh.
Frustration.
Yes.
Actually, speaking about houses, do you find like some of the houses that you have attended fires to that they have cluttered insides that help to spread the flames a lot more?
Many of them.
Okay.
Many of them do. And this day and age, I don't believe anybody. I mean, yes, persons may rush, etc. But leaving home, you should have a checklist to make sure before you leave home that you have your fans unplugged. I always tell people, unplug everything in the house, excluding the clocks.
I am guilty of leaving fans plugged in because as soon as I come through the door, I just want to flip it on. It's so housing. But I am guilty of that, and I would also say I'm guilty of, I might leave a charger unplugged. Not charging anything, but I might leave it plugged in after I take my phone off the charger. But I'm assuming from your shake that I'm not supposed to do that.
Definitely not. As I said, once you're leaving home, unplug everything. If you're leaving the room, unplug your devices, even if it's for short while, because that short while you may go and get distracted doing something else. So anytime your phone has been finished charging or you're going to take a call, etc., unplug it from the wall socket and then you unplug it and you go and answer the call. But do not leave it plugged in because electricity is still flowing through that device. The same thing with the fans. person have the fans plugged in, and then because they have a large heap of clothes or stuff put up next to the fan, or the fan is on the carpet, all of that, you're leaving that plugged in, and then next know you wonder why it is that your house has gone up in smoke and fire.
Okay, I'm going to take that as your 2 best practices, because one, the takeaways that I'm getting, keep a checklist for when I'm leaving home, because I'm also forgetful. And if you're in a rush, you just do what's easiest to get right through that door, and that's the number 1 cause of accidents. Yeah. People just are not considerate enough of their surroundings, so we in out. And then 2, unplug everything except the clocks and the fridge.
Even the clocks nowadays.
Oh, yeah. There's so many things that are electrical now that I'm thinking about it, that I'm mentally going through the list of things that I could be unplugging when I leave home, and it's astounding.
Yeah.
Like almost everything now is either electrical based or plugged in, or we don't consider it.
And I would add something else, because a lot of persons do not even study it, but your internet box.
Oh,
because that's something that persons don't unplug, right?
Never.
So when you have these persons from the companies who are coming to install these devices, where they put them is also important. Because a lot of persons may put them next to a window, or just put it right there, and you have the curtains blowing, and next to the curtains hook up in the same device, which gets hot over time, and all that can lead to fire. So make sure it's away from anything that's moving or anything that is flammable or that can catch a fire. Have it in somewhere that has adequate wind as well. So all these things you have to consider when you're installing these devices.
One of the things that I don't ever consider is that things get hot. Now that you say, I was like, wait, does it get hot?
Yeah, even the laptop. If you put it on your lap, you feel the heat after a while. So imagine you leave the laptop plugged in and you put it on your mattress. You leave the room, the heat is being trapped. So all that time under the mattress right underneath the laptop is getting heated up. And over a little period of time, once that reaches its ignition point, it will just ignite. So all of these things you should consider. Get the cooling fans if you need to. Get a solid piece of wood to put the laptop on. And when you're leaving, unplug it and move it off the mattress.
Okay, well, that's great advice for the Barbadian public. I hope that they heed it, because just those little things, little changes like that can make a big difference in safety.
Indeed.
Okay, Kevin, so we're heading into my favorite segment, which I'm calling That's the Law.
Where's the police?
That's how I feel when I hear a siren. Like, where are you guys? Alright, so for this case study that we have, it's a fictitious case study. We're looking at Orion Textiles, which is a 3-story garment factory with 85 employees, and they specialize in making natural fabrics from Barbados cotton and other fibers. So first off the bat, very flammable materials.
And a lot of workers.
Yeah. So in the cutting room on the second floor of a 3-story building, one of the machines malfunctioned due to a significant lubricant on the gears, which caused a spark that ignited the fabric. A fire broke out and quickly spread between the fabric waiting to be cut on the assembly line. Employees present tried to get the mounted fire extinguisher, which was stationed near the exit, which was approximately 20 feet away from the machine. However, it had been serviced 18 months ago, and some of the powder settled at the bottom, resulting in less powder being available at the discharge. So coupled with the time it took to get the extinguisher, the fire grew a little larger. With the fire alarm going off, 15 employees who worked in the cutting room tried to escape the building, heading down the stairs to the exit. The door opened inward, and this created a bottleneck of employees waiting to get outside. Staff members on the 3rd floor could only exit by the same fire stairwell and were subjected to the smoke filling the area as the fire grew bigger. 2 people at the back of the bottleneck, while waiting to exit, inhaled large amounts of smoke, leading to severe coughing fits. Wow. Others sustained a few injuries trying to exit the building. So all staff members made it to the assembly point, and the fire service arrived in a timely manner to save the building, despite the damage that was sustained on the 2nd floor. So our questions: what are the procedures that should occur when encountering a fire in the workplace? And then I'll bring the second one afterward.
Okay. All right. So that's a loaded. That's law. So I'll put on my judging thing.
You already have the glasses. You look
I'll put on
very studious right now.
Weight here and everything, right? So okay. So first and foremost, I will say that it's clear the factory did not have the fire service come and do its annual inspection, judging by the fact that the fire extinguisher 18 months was not serviced or checked. Alright? Because fire extinguishers, first and foremost, normally the companies such as OBL and those other companies, safety companies, they will service the extinguishers every 6 months or maximum every year. And once it's done, it is normally tagged with the date and the next service date as well. So 18 months means that they would have surpassed the period of that fire extinguisher having to be inspected. Now, secondly, you said the door at the bottom of the stairs was opening inward.
Yeah.
Now, that's something else that's also against the Safety and Health at Work Act. I think it's either section 38 or 39. Don't quote me. But I think it's 38 or 39, probably 39, that speaks not even once but twice as it relates to once you have more than 10 persons in a building or a factory or a store, 10 persons working, especially if those 10 persons are in a floor above the ground floor, that the doors are the means of exit, that they should open outward. Even door, it also speaks about doors at the bottom of the stairway. Those doors, especially, exception is if it's the case that the doors are continuously kept open, or if it is that they're sliding doors. Outside of those two, all doors at the bottom of stairways and used as a means of exit, they should always open outward. So that way it will not create a bottleneck that as person are trying to escape or evacuate, that you have that person being trapped trying to get the door open or pushing when it's inward door. So there always should be a door that opens outward. Alright? For me, I always tell persons, anytime you have a business, you have any persons coming to work there, whether it be for they're not joining the company or coming to do work at the company, you should always explain to them what is your evacuation plan and where your assembly area is. So that way, at orientation, you say, okay, we're at this location. In the event that alarm goes off, evacuation, you have this exit or you have the next exit. And you should preferably have more than one exit, not having the person from the second and third floor having to be a bottleneck at the same area, and also going through the area where the smoke is. So I know there's some buildings where they have the alarms triggered at the floor which is nearest to where the alarm was triggered. They shut off to prevent persons from going into that area, and they will have to then go through the other exit away from the fire and away from danger or being consumed by the smoke or the flames. So that is something that obviously, because due to not having the fire inspection, which they should have done, and that's where we have the Fire Prevention and Code Enforcement Unit in the Barbados Fire Service, where you can go to the website and apply for your inspection. They do a pre-inspection, so you get your things in order, get your smoke alarms, your exit signs, make sure your doors are opening outwards, all that they check for in advance. And then you have to, as a business, practice these evacuation drills. And evacuation drills is something that it doesn't have to always be announced, but is a way of you to gauge where your employees are as it relates to safety and evacuating. And then you can always tweak to make sure you improve, so that in the event that something does happen, that persons can exit in safety. Alright? Also, as it relates to evacuation drills, and I look directly at the camera for this one, please do not assume that it is an evacuation drill. Once the alarm is triggered, always act as if it is an actual emergency, because you never know. You may have an evacuation drill plan for this morning, and just before the alarm goes off, an actual fire happens, and you are thinking it's a drill, and then it's something real. Regardless of where you are, once the alarm goes off, find your way to the nearest emergency exit or exit, and do not go back to your desk to go and get your belongings or anything of the sort, because that's putting yourself at harm's way. Exit the building and proceed to the assembly area, and please stay at the assembly area until you have been counted, because there are too many cases where the fire service responds to an incident and you're looking for someone, they say, oh, we come and 2-person short or 3-person short. So then we have to go and search every room and put ourselves even at more risk as opposed to if there's an actual fire during the firefighting. Put ourselves at more risk to go and search for persons who may have left and say that, oh, they can use the time to go shopping or go and do something else. So as it relates to the case study, one, they should make sure that they have their fire extinguishers serviced and checked, have their annual fire certificate done. Also, ensure that the door at the bottom of the stairway that is changed to open outwards, and where possible, see if they can find or make additional exits throughout the building for those who are coming from the 3rd floor, so you avoid the bottleneck. And luckily, the persons who have been gone through the smoke, we now have some fire officers who are trained as EMTs who can also tend to them until the call is made for an ambulance to arrive as well.
Okay.
Yes, please.
That's quite a lot in terms of the steps that persons need to take. May sound vast, but when you break it down, they're all necessary. I don't think there's anything you said in there that should be skipped. Like everything is important.
Yes, please.
And also, the counting thing. I want to ask a question about that. So, obviously, we're a retail business, so we have customers coming in and out of that nature.
Yeah.
How should a business go about ensuring they are aware of who's on the premises?
Okay, so some businesses will have a security guard working who each person that come in, they should do a count, and as they leave, then in terms of, there's some businesses who they know that once persons come to the business, most of them are coming to the same area. So in terms of evacuating, you know you target this area to make sure that those persons are directed out of the building. If it is that they're going outside that area, then you should have someone with them who could account for them at all times. And emergency warnings is very important as well. Emergency warnings at every business, and the safety and health at work also speaks to that, having at least one person in each area, or depending on the size, that one person should be trained as an emergency warning at all times and be present. So you should always train at least 3 or so persons, so that in the event one goes on vacation or a sick leave, that you still have someone or other persons who can fill that role. So that anytime the alarm goes off, these persons then go into action. They ensure that persons evacuate and they direct them to the assembly area. They also do checks throughout the day. So like, let's say water spills somewhere, ensuring that like what's called the signs, so the wet signs are placed. In terms of the same fire extinguishers, they do checks to make sure, yeah, this extinguisher this 18 months and this extinguisher has not been checked, and they can bring it to the health and safety committee or to the HR or whoever to make sure that is checked and changed. Even in terms of, let's say you go work today and you and your boss get away and the boss decided, alright, it was lovely having you here, but for tomorrow we can do without you and for you, and you get fed up and you decide, you know what, I can go and block up the fire extinguisher to make sure they can't use none of them, and then I can block off these doors and go and light the building on fire.
That went dark.
Yeah, so hey.
Yeah, no. I was like, you were speaking from experience. These are
that. So trust me, these are things that be going through my mind. So it's like, when you go to buildings, it's like, when last y'all check the nozzle of the extinguisher, because sometimes you will find insects, cockroaches and stuff may crawl up and become trapped on the inside. So all these things, these foreign objects can pose a threat. Persons may have chewing gum or something and they can't find a way to put it, and they decide to stick it with it. So these are things that the emergency wardens would check for, along with having training, which is also provided at our fire academy. So they have training at the fire academy for staff, and also in terms of the emergency wardens as well, as to what to look for when you go to the assembly area to do the count. And depending on the direction of the smoke, you move the person to another area, and when the fire service arrives, you let them know, okay, everybody's accounted for, or 1 or 2 persons are missing, and where they were last seen, etc. So they're very important, emergency warnings.
All right.
Case closed.
Okay, Kevin, so we're going into our myth busting section, and I'm going to give you a couple of statements that some people may believe to be true, but are not necessarily true. So if it's a myth, you're going to bust this myth for us, and if it's not a myth and it's a fact, just let the people know, yeah, you can trust this one.
Got you.
Alright, so our first myth is fire extinguishers are easy to use, no training is necessary. Okay, let's bust it. Why?
Now, while they say it's easy to use, I've had cases during training where I ask persons, do you know how to use the fire extinguisher? Yeah, when you fight, you just throw it in. And it's like, throw it. So, training, yes, should be provided because a lot of persons do not know how to use the extinguisher. And if you train them and they see how it works, it makes them more confident that if something does happen, to operate it. As to go and use it and then you're surprised and then on the spot.
You recommend the pass method too?
Yes, so the pass method is what we teach at the Fire Academy and as instructors. And we actually go a step further. We say A pass.
Okay, explain. Because I don't know pass.
So A, as in you announce or alert persons that there's a fire. So you alert, you make sure, okay, fire starts over here. You shout fire, or if someone's in the room, fire, you shout fire, that person automatically knows. Alright, so I'm going to pull the alarm so it announces and it alerts everyone in the building. And also to call the fire department up front. Okay. Right? So whether you think the fire is too small or no starting, always alert the fire service so that in the event that it goes bigger, we are already notified and on our way. So A, alert or announce that there's a fire. Then you're going to pass. P-A-S-S. So P, you pull the pin. So you see the pin which has the tamper-proof.
Can you just demonstrate on one of our
no here? So you have the pin. So normally the pin, once it's checked by OBL, they normally put a tamper-proof tag on it. But seals it, and if the tag is broken, you know that it may have been tampered with. So the first thing is you pull the pin. So P, pull the pin. You pull it right out. A, you aim at the base of the fire. So if you've seen a candle burning, you see the candlestick and you see a little space between the candlestick and you see the flame above. So you're aiming at the space above the candlestick but below the flame, which is called the base of the fire. So you aim at the base of the fire. The first S is you squeeze the handle and the trigger together, which activates the product and the agent. And the final S, you sweep from side to side. Alright, so A, you alert the first, so A pass, A, alert and announce. P, pull the pin. A, aim at the base of the fire. First S, squeeze the handle and trigger together. And the final S, you sweep from side to side.
Okay.
Alright.
Now, we have another fire extinguisher here that I just want to get you to look at. And can you just tell persons what type of fire extinguisher this is?
Okay, so based on this is saying that this is suitable for class A, B, C, E, and F, or K, depending on which jurisdiction you're from. And what that means is it's a multi-purpose fire extinguisher or fire extinguisher ball, and the agent is dry powder. So class A, so in terms of combustibles like wood, paper, grass, the things you'll find in your home, carpet, etc., that's considered as A. Then you have the flammable liquids and gases. You have electrical fires as well as cooking oil or kitchen fires as well. So it's suitable for a wide range of fires, so it's a multi-purpose fire extinguisher ball basically. Now, how it's used is if there's a fire on the table, then you just throw it to the side of where the fire is, and the heat from the fire would then cause this to, for lack of a better word, explode, or for the agent to dispel and extinguish the fire. Okay. Alright? Now, depending on the size of the fire, you may need more than one, and obviously this is suitable for fires which is in as when it's still small and not for large scale fires. You can still, if you have adequate, you can throw them into the large fire and see At least it would help minimize the fire until the arrival of the Barbados Fire Service. But it is also a good to have in homes or even in terms of businesses as well.
And this one's also well mounted, so for persons that may not have as good an aim as you should, you could put it near the heat source and then it would explode upon temperatures getting to the
once it reaches the 80,
when it's real hot, then it will start to explode. Alright, thank you very much.
That's no problem.
So the next myth that I have for you, fire safety is the same everywhere. No need for an individual assessment.
No, I will say it's kind of a myth. Because, well, you could have someone who's a trained instructor of the fire academy, or you have someone from a company or someone who may do research and read up. It will not be the same. Yes, through the fire departments internationally, we try to preach the same information, but a lot of information as it relates to Barbados or the country, you'll find persons at the fire academy who are instructors and also fire officers who will have experienced multiple fires and stuff. They'll be able to give you additional information on fire safety based on what they see and what will be best practices. And when we do our inspections, there are new things that we see creeping in, which we have to tweak and add into our fire safety presentations to ensure that we try to nip it in the bud. And you'll find now you'll see a lot of these challenges, the TikTok challenges and all these little challenges with including fire, and people see them and they laugh and they don't see the seriousness of it and the potential hazard that they can pose by doing them, especially in homes where a sudden little challenge could end up injuring you or causing you to cause damage to your house, your property, or even the loss of life.
You know, the first challenge that came to mind when you said that is this new trend where people are putting flammable paper on cakes and they're burning away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so cool, but so dangerous. And I know me with my hair, very flammable. I will burn down some blow. I
actually saw a few challenges after that as well, in terms of the persons lighting a match or a lighter and using aerosols. You saw the ones with persons trying to do a flower cloud and light. So there are different challenges that you're seeing going on nowadays, and as much as you see them on the challenges, see them, laugh at them, but please do not attempt them at home, because if you do, you don't know what will happen, and prevention is better than cure.
Yeah, what's good for the goose is not always good for the gander. So that common sense prevails, people.
I mean, none of it goes.
That is so true. All right. And I want to add something to this just to get your opinion. So just because I have a business elsewhere, I can't just apply those fire safety measures to the next building, can I?
Well, yes, you can. You can, in terms of your experience and from what you would have experienced, but also I will still encourage, just like with an inspection, if you make any changes or alterations, you should always, as the Safety and Health at Work Act says, inform the fire department, have an inspector come and do checks to verify, because what may seem as a good idea to a trained eye, we may see something that you may miss out on, which could lead to problems further down the road. So, well, yes, you can go ahead and do that. And also the fire prevention and the fire academy, there are some fire safety lectures which is provided absolutely free of cost. You just make contact, and for church groups, businesses, schools, there's a safe program where we go to schools and teaching fire safety. All these things are free. So a lot of businesses have, over my years in the fire department, I would have gone and done some lunchtime series where during 30 minutes or an hour of the person's lunch, the staff at the employers would have set aside 30 minutes to have a lunchtime fire safety session. And what we try to do in our fire safety sessions is that we believe if we get persons to teach of fire safety in the home, it's easier to transition or to have them to utilize the same fire safety at work. Because if you're practicing at home, then also them same habits and behaviors then you then find yourself doing at work. So fire safety in the home translates to fire safety at work.
Okay. Alright, so our next myth. When you hear the fire alarm, you'll have enough time to evacuate.
When you hear the fire alarm,
you'll have enough time to evacuate.
Now that is a tricky question. I would say you do in some cases, but it depends because let's say, as the same scenario that I gave earlier, nowadays you have they call persons who may be targeting a business or targeting the area, and they're not going to go and just start one fire. They may start more than one, and even though the alarm will trigger in the room, you may have more than one place that may be set afire at the same time, or depending on what the person uses as the source of ignition, it could start with a full-blown explosion where you have no time to really respond to it. But in most cases, fires start small and they grow bigger. And when they start small, the alarm is triggered and you have adequate time to evacuate the building. And I'll put in a plug there for all those persons at home who still do not have small alarms at home. Please, 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 your homework for today. Come to OBL and purchase your small alarms. You have the smaller ones which last 5 or so years, but then you have the 10-year one which has a lithium battery, or the 10-year one which will last longer. And these devices, they do save lives, because in the event that a fire starts at home, it alerts everyone in the house in the early to have them evacuate. So even if you're a sound sleeper and you sleep strong, you snore the loudest in the world, when this alarm goes off, it should trigger you and alert not just you, but those who have children, may have elderly persons in the home, and give you adequate time to evacuate. And you should have a exit drill in your home plan, a EDIF, what we call EDIF, or evacuation plan, that you could evacuate, and you have an assembly area so that in the event a fire breaks out, you know the alarm goes off, you know your children will be notified, and you know that the children will know, right, when you get out of the house, you go straight to this tree which is upwind, and this is where we will all meet. So that way when you come out the building and you do not see your children, most cases when you don't have an assembly plan or exit plan, imagine you come out of the building, fire is blazing, you don't know where your children or your first instinct is still inside the building. So if you have the assembly area and you have the exit plans, you know exactly where to go to look for everybody, and you know that everybody is accounted for, which gives you that peace of mind, knowing that you're at least life is safe, and then you just focus on the house fire or the fire itself.
Yeah, that's some really good advice. You're just at home, so you don't really think about these things as often as you should.
Yeah.
Because accidents are supposed to be just that, once in a while, things that occur, not the everyday norm. So please, guys, take that advice with your kids, especially the younger ones. Practice those drills at home, because practice makes practical, not perfect. Exactly. You know what you have to do. All right.
And you can even add on to the same drills. The first few times, you say, okay, you press the alarm. You tell them, all right, when you hear the alarm, you go this way and you try to get out. If you go this way and you realize that the fire is this way, then you teach them going in another direction. And you do that more than once. Or this time, you block off one area to see how they try to get out to another area. And then you see they're getting comfortable and they're getting confident, then you add another spin to it. You blindfold the children and let them try to find their way out. So you know that way they'll go to they'll find their way to the wall and find. Yeah, because in the event that a fire happens at night and the electricity goes off, it's dark, then the room is filled with smoke as well. It means that your visibility is very poor. So what you're doing is you're training the child or your children that they're not able to see, so they're able to practice so that in the event that it does happen, you're preparing for the actual event and what could possibly happen. So the aim is to make sure that you have you and your children in a state of readiness so that so something happen, and it is worst case that they know how to comfortably and confidently try to find their way out and make their way to the assembly area.
Okay, I'm going to practice that because I don't think I've ever walked through my house in the dark. Like, but if electricity goes off, I just stay somewhere on my phone. I'm a modern day child. So I definitely will have to take that into consideration of how to navigate my home in the dark. And is my home even navigatable? Is that a word? Because, you know, there are things like tables. Where do you place your tables? Is there a clear exit? Like, those are things that we don't have to consider.
I'm going to tell you something. There's nothing worse than getting out in the middle of the night, tired and sleepy, and you're trying to find your way either to the bathroom or to the kitchen to get some water, and you stump your little toe on the table.
Way too right.
Hello.
All this is lost.
Hello. So,
right.
practicing in the dark, practicing blindfold, that helps you in the event of that, finding your way out of the building. So, yeah. Okay.
So, I have one last myth for you. The type of fire doesn't matter. Any fire extinguisher can be used.
Whee!
Okay, myth busted. Why?
As it relates to fire extinguishers, there are different types of fire extinguishers. So you have the ABC, you have the BC, you have the one for the lithium batteries. There's different types of fire extinguisher which is not suitable for every fire. And I would encourage persons and businesses to make sure they apply at the Barbados Fire Academy. And you know, it basically putting a plug, but I believe that safety and knowing how to use the fire extinguishers is extremely important. So, knowing the different types of extinguishers, because there's multiple types. There's the water, the dry powder, the dry chemical, foam. There's many types of fire extinguishers. So, knowing each fire extinguisher and knowing which fire and which can be used for multiple fires. So, it's a lot of information. And the Academy does an excellent way of getting you to remember, and you also get a certification at the end of the class to say that you've passed and you know how to use the extinguishers in an actual fire. Because they light a fire and you actually get to use the different fire extinguishers as well. Okay. So it's a myth. Every fire extinguisher cannot be used with every fire, and fire extinguishers will also only be used for small fires, etc. And I'll also say, even if you're trained to use the fire extinguisher and the moment of using it and you realize you don't feel so comfortable or confident and your mind is telling you don't, follow your mind. Back away from the fire, get to the door and find your way out and make sure the fire service has been notified.
Okay. I think that was going to be my follow-up question. When do you bail? Because obviously you're in the height of things, you're thinking the fire extinguisher is there, it's manageable now, but let's say in case of our case study, they hadn't been serviced, so the powder has settled, they had less of powder to use. So knowing when to build is so crucial.
Exactly.
Especially when you want to save everything.
You gotta trust your gut, trust your instinct, trust your training, and once you realize that the fire is not extinguishing or it's flaring back up, never back the fire. You back away from the fire until you get to the door, and then you make your escape.
Actually, now that you speak about doors, I had read somewhere that when you sleep at night, you should sleep with your doors closed.
Yes, please.
As a fire safety measure. Could you expand more on that?
Yes, and not just that, but also in terms of when you're evacuating. When you leave the room, try to close the door, because what that does is it stops or it slows down the flow of the fire, because fire needs oxygen, it needs fuel. So by closing the door, it then slows down the fire because of the oxygen or from getting into the room. It takes longer because of the door. It will take longer for the fire to burn through the door and then go into that room that's on fire.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Even in terms of the smoke as well. Yeah.
Well, with smoke, I know when we were younger, we were taught get low.
Yes,
is that still like, can you get low, back out? Like, how's it working?
Yeah, so in terms of you wake up in a room and the room is filled with smoke, think like a baby. Get as low to the ground and you crawl below it, because hot air rises So you'll find the fresher and the cleaner air will be found closer to the ground. So you're able to see a little bit better closer to the ground, as opposed to if you're up higher where you'll be feeling the heat because all the products of the fire, the hot gases, everything will be above the plane. Sorry, the neutral plane, what we call the neutral plane. So staying low, you stay below the fire, clean up oxygen, it's easier to breathe. You'll still obviously get the smell, but it will not be as dangerous as if you're standing up or up high.
Okay, Kevin. So we are on to our last segment, which is my favorite, which is safety do's and don'ts. So you're going to tell us if this statement is something that we should be doing or something we should not be doing.
Okay.
Alright. So first one is always keep your fire doors propped open for easier escape during an emergency. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep them propped open so you can easily escape. But you talking about emergency exits?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Wait, I used the wrong
I was talking about these doors that they need to get out.
No.
But your emergency exit, you keep them closed. The emergency exit, the push bar, you can keep them closed. But then, if it is the fire doors, you keep them unlocked. You don't have to keep them propped open.
Okay. So next one, do fire drills at least once a year.
I would say thumbs down.
Why?
I don't think once a year is enough.
Okay.
You should do it every quarter or more, depending on what you see during your evacuation drill may determine or see a need for you to do them more often.
Okay.
If it is that you do and you release the staff, they're on point, they get in time, then you do your report, because you should record it and record the time that everybody will evacuate the building, etc. Once that's good, then you do it the next quarter. If they're not, then you tweak, you have a meeting, discuss, plan, and then you do another one again.
Okay. Update your fire risk assessments after changes to layout or occupancy.
Thumbs up.
All right. Just telling staff is enough. You don't need to post signage about fire safety. That was controversial.
You don't need to post because you can tell them, but when you post them, you don't put them on the walls and stuff, right? Chances are when you post them, person just gonna walk past them. It's best for you to have meetings, have little discussions, or you can have creative ways of informing them. You could do a little, you have a lucky dip. And you put fire safety messages in the lucky dip along with some small little souvenirs or small little tokens or whatever. And as you pull them, you tell them more and you read and you like, remember this one and stay away from lighters and there's a lighter. So you can do little creative things to.
So you want stuff that will make the message stick.
Yes.
When you're dealing with your staff.
Because if you just post them, you may not capture the attention that is needed for your safety. Even in terms of group chats, I find if you post certain things, people will just scroll past them. So you gotta find ways to capture the attention of the reader or of your staff. So it's about knowing your staff, knowing your target audience, and knowing how best to achieve the desired result.
Okay.
So yes, you can do that, but in this day and age where most persons are more have a sharp attention span or more device focus, you gotta find creative ways to get the message across. Yes.
Okay. All right. Smoking on the premises should only be done in a designated area. And last one, fire safety plans should be written. All right, so that's it. Safety do's and don'ts.
Please.
So this has been a very informative session for me, especially. Fire safety is something that, again, Bajans being very reactive. We think about it only when something has happened. We know that we had a very busy period recently with the bushfires that I don't want to be in your shoes. With the bushfires that came about recently. So a lot more people have been fire cautious during this period. So are there any closing statements you want to leave with the Barbadian public?
No, I will say this. fire officers are humans too, right? And I say that to say we are held high to the expectation that one, the moment you make the call and you put on the phone, the fire appliance will automatically turn on. A lot of cases, and I've been to fires where we were driving through an area, we saw smoke, and we went to the fire. When we got there, we got lambasted about what we took so long. And then you ask, who called the fire department? Control, did you get a call for this fire? Negative. Persons, you ask the person in the community, who called the fire service? You called. Oh, I thought you called. Nobody called. Even in terms of house fires, you find persons try to save the TV, try to save this before they even get around to, try to even extinguish the fire before they get around to calling the fire department. And when they put on the phone, they expect us to arrive. But they say from the time the fire starts, the first thing you should do is make sure you call the department. Even if the fire extinguished before we arrive, that's better that we are on our way regardless of the outcome. Right? And I say fire officers are human too because, as you spoke about, the large number of fires we had earlier with the bushfires. So you had cases of where persons would have to, over the 10 or 14 hours or 24 hours at work, you're leaving from one fire to the next, to the next, to the next. Right? So obviously you're exhausted, but you're still being dependent on, and the public is expecting you to perform and do your job. Alright? So consider that one, you're human too. We have a lot of fire officers who are of age, who may, because we are under the same retirement age as the general public, where you have to work to 67 or 70. So imagine fire officers of that age having to go to these multiple fires, go to a house fire where a child or something is trapped. And as you get older, you know the ailments, the pains, and everything else. So these are all things which you have to factor in as well. There's not just the young, there's also the older persons. And that's something that also needs to be looked at. So all these things you must consider, because, well, we want at the end of the day and at every incident to save lives, to save property, to ensure that we contain the fires, etc. The end result is for life, to preserve your life, to make sure that you are not at risk and that you get to work, you left your family, and at the end of the day, you're able to go back home to see your family, right? And that is also our aim as fire department, as fire officers. We leave our families as well, and with the hope, not knowing if we're going to be able to see them again, because at the end of the day, when you go work, you don't know what you're going to come across, you don't know what's going to happen, and that's why in our firefighting prayer, it speaks about, if I should lose my life, bless with your protected hand, my family and my spouse or my wife, whatever. Because at the end of the day, every time you go work, you don't know if you're going to return. So each incident we go to, it takes away a little bit of us, because you're seeing children involved, you're seeing persons being affected, and we have to be strong each and every time for these persons, but it takes a toll on us as well, right? So that is one thing. And something I forgot to say as well, in terms of businesses, please ensure that your surge protectors has the UL listed or UL rated underwriters laboratories checked. What they do is all their surge protectors, they're tested to withstand if there's an electric surge or anything, to protect your equipment and ensure that a fire doesn't break out. So when you're buying surge protectors, make sure you don't go and buy the power strips. Buy the surge protectors that has the green and the red light, so that in the event that there's any power outages and then it actually comes back on the surge, that it protects your home and protects your devices as well. So that will be my closing statements.
And valuable closing statements, as we think of the firefighters as heroes. So there's nothing wrong with the heroes. So you could do and do and do, but you guys are human too.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the all this saying when it comes to safety, safety is everyone's responsibility. We have to act responsibly. Don't be doing the foolishness and lawlessness that then endangers the lives of those that have to come and help you. So, guys, fire safety is of the utmost importance. It's for your businesses, it's for your personal safety, it's for your family safety. Be aware. Remember, A pass, not I've learned it.
Yes, please.
Alert the fire department, no matter how small, just let them know to be prepared. Then, with your fire extinguisher, hold the pin, aim the nozzle at the base of the fire, not the base of the object. Just like that. Too. Squeeze the handle and then sweep from side to side. And stay safe, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Safe Love Podcast.
Bye-bye.